What if being a good man is the very reason you are disrespected and used? Look around you. The guys who always say yes, who show kindness to everyone, who try to make everybody happy, where are they? They're the ones getting their time wasted, their money borrowed and never returned, their efforts taken for granted, their kindness treated as weakness. This is what I call the nice guy syndrome. These men think that being good will earn them respect. They've been taught that if they're nice enough, helpful enough, accommodating enough, eventually people will recognize their value and treat them well. But here's the brutal truth. People don't respect goodness. They respect power. They respect strength. They respect those who understand the fundamental laws of human nature. As Robert Greene writes in the 48 Laws of Power, moral, cunning, ruthless, and instructive, this piercing work distills 3,000 years of the history of power into 48 well-explicated laws. Weakness is like a scent. Predators can smell it from miles away. When you show that you have no boundaries, no limits, no backbone, you become a walking target. Every user, every manipulator, every selfish person in your life will see you coming and think, easy prey. Robert Greene, the master strategist behind multiple New York Times bestsellers, doesn't sugarcoat the truth about what drives greatness. He reveals something most people are afraid to admit: our darkest emotions, anger, bitterness, frustration, often contain the raw fuel for extraordinary achievement. He wasn't driven to write his first book by love and positivity, but by a burning need to prove everyone wrong. Most men today have been brainwashed into thinking that showing weakness makes them good people, that sacrificing themselves makes them noble, that being a doormat makes them kind. But here's what they don't tell you. People see kindness as opportunity. They see your good nature and think, what can I get from this guy? They see your willingness to help and think, perfect, someone to dump my problems on. Human nature is selfish. People look out for their own interests first. So when you show blind kindness without any self-respect, you're just making yourself useful to people who will never return the favor. By the end of this guide, you'll learn how to control your image, manage your emotions, and build the kind of presence that commands respect. You'll understand why being too good makes you weak and how to develop the strategic mindset that makes people think twice before trying to use you. You'll never want to go back to being everyone's nice guy once you taste what real respect feels like. Number 1, stop being the nice guy. The nice guy is society's favorite victim. You know him. He's the guy who lends money and never asks for it back. He's the one who always covers for his lazy friends. He's the one who stays late to help while others go home early. He thinks he's being good, but really he's being predictable, and predictability is weakness. Robert Greene's research reveals a profound truth: the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. This is law 4, always say less than necessary. The same principle applies to your actions. When you're always available, always agreeable, always accommodating, you become common, you become expected, you become furniture. Here's the harsh reality. People don't respect nice guys. They use them. Weakness is like a smell. It attracts the wrong kind of people. When you show that you can't say no, that you'll always put others first, that you're afraid of disappointing anyone, you send out a signal that says, come and take advantage of me. Think about it. Do you respect the friend who drops everything every time you call? Or do you respect the friend who has his own priorities and sometimes says, I can't help today? Be honest. The always available friend becomes furniture in your life. You expect him to be there because he always is. But the selective friend, when he helps you, it means something because you know he chose to help rather than just being unable to say no. People respect those who have standards. They respect those who value their own time and energy. They don't respect doormats. When you're always nice, always accommodating, always putting others first, you're teaching people that you don't value yourself. And if you don't value yourself, why should they? The user, the manipulator, the selfish person, they can spot a nice guy from across the room. They see someone who will say yes when they should say no, someone who will give when they should keep, someone who will sacrifice when they should protect themselves. And once they identify you as a nice guy, you become their go-to person for every favor, every burden, every problem they don't want to deal with themselves. Stop being nice and start being strategic. Help people when it benefits you or aligns with your goals. Say no when something doesn't serve your interests. Put your own needs first, because nobody else will. This doesn't make you selfish. It makes you smart. Selfish people take care of themselves at others' expense. Strategic people take care of themselves so they can operate from a position of strength. When you have standards, when you have boundaries, when you show that your time and energy have value, people start treating you differently. They stop making casual demands. They think before asking for favors. They respect your decisions because they know you make them deliberately, not just to avoid conflict. As Greene writes, never assume that the person you are dealing with is weaker or less important than you are. Some people are slow to take offense, which may make you misjudge the thickness of their skin, and fail to worry about insulting them. But should you offend their honor and their pride, they will overwhelm you with a violence that seems sudden and extreme given their slowness to anger. The nice guy gets used. The strategic man gets respected. Nice guys finish last because they train people to see them as resources, not as individuals worthy of respect. Number 2, master the art of selective ruthlessness. Being good isn't enough. You must learn how not to be good when the situation demands it. This is where most men fail. They think being ruthless makes them evil. But strategic ruthlessness isn't about being cruel. It's about being willing to make hard decisions that protect your interests and command respect. Robert Greene's Law 15 is clear: crush your enemy totally. He explains, more is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover, and will seek revenge. Crush him, not only in body but in spirit. When someone disrespects you, your instinct might be to be understanding, to give them the benefit of the doubt, to avoid conflict. This is exactly what they're counting on. They know you'll absorb their bad behavior rather than call it out. Strategic ruthlessness means being willing to cut people off when they show you who they really are. It means not giving endless second chances to people who repeatedly disrespect your time, energy, or boundaries. When someone borrows money and doesn't pay it back, the nice guy makes excuses for them and never brings it up again. The strategically ruthless person makes it clear that this affects the relationship, and acts accordingly. When someone consistently cancels plans at the last minute, the nice guy keeps making new plans and hoping for the best. The strategic person stops making plans with unreliable people. When someone talks down to you or treats you with disrespect, the nice guy tries to win them over with more kindness. The strategic person either addresses it directly or removes themselves from the situation entirely. This isn't about being vengeful or cruel. It's about having consequences for bad behavior. People only treat you as badly as you allow them to. Most people are used to dealing with nice guys who will absorb any amount of disrespect rather than create conflict. When you show that you're willing to be ruthless in protecting your standards, it changes the entire dynamic. They realize they can't walk all over you. They understand that treating you poorly has real consequences. They start thinking before they act, because they know you won't just smile and take it. Strategic ruthlessness also means making decisions based on what serves your goals, not based on what makes everyone happy. Sometimes you have to choose opportunities that disappoint some people. Sometimes you have to prioritize your advancement over someone else's comfort. As Greene notes, keep your friends for friendship, but work with the skilled and competent. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time. Be selective. The key is being strategic. You don't need to be ruthless with everyone about everything. But when someone shows you through their actions that they don't respect you, that they see you as someone to be used rather than someone to be valued, you must be willing to respond with appropriate force. People respect strength. They respect boundaries. They respect consequences. When you show that you're willing to be ruthless in protecting what matters to you, you earn a different kind of treatment. Strategic ruthlessness isn't cruelty. It's self-respect with teeth. Number 3, discipline and emotional control. Your emotions are weapons that can be used against you, if you don't control them. Every time you react emotionally instead of responding strategically, you give your power away. Every time you let someone's words or actions trigger an immediate reaction, you show them exactly how to manipulate you in the future. The person who can stay calm while others lose control has a massive advantage. They can think clearly, make better decisions, and project strength even in difficult situations. Robert Greene addresses this directly in the 33 Strategies of War. Don't be emotional. Failure to detach yourself from your conflicts or competitors clouds your vision and limits your options. If you are aware of this, you can succeed in creating chaos in the minds of your emotional opponents. Emotional control doesn't mean being emotionless. It means feeling your emotions but choosing how to act on them. It means responding with strategy instead of reacting with impulse. When someone insults you, your emotional impulse might be to insult them back or to get defensive. But the strategic response might be to simply look at them calmly and say nothing, letting them expose their own lack of class. When someone tries to pressure you into a decision, your emotional impulse might be to give in quickly to avoid conflict. But the strategic response is to say, I need time to think about this, and actually take that time to consider what's best for you. Emotional people make terrible decisions. They choose friends based on how those people make them feel in the moment rather than on character and loyalty. They say yes to opportunities that excite them without considering the long-term costs. They make enemies out of people who could have been allies, just because they couldn't control their temper. Strategic people make calculated decisions. They choose relationships based on mutual benefit and respect. They evaluate opportunities based on how they align with their long-term goals. They pick their battles carefully and fight them to win. This doesn't make you cold or heartless. It makes you reliable and trustworthy. People know they can count on you to stay level-headed when situations get intense. They know you won't make impulsive decisions that hurt everyone involved. Emotional control also means not being controlled by your need for approval, validation, or immediate gratification. When you can delay reactions, consider multiple options, and choose responses based on what serves your interests rather than what feels good in the moment, you operate from a position of strength. Great leaders train themselves to be mentally strong through regular exposure to high stress and adverse situations that force them out of their comfort zones. They don't avoid discomfort. They embrace it as training. Practice this in small situations first. When someone cuts in line, when you receive criticism, when plans change unexpectedly. Use these moments to practice responding thoughtfully rather than reacting automatically. The goal is to become someone who others can't push around emotionally, someone who stays calm under pressure, someone who thinks before acting and acts with purpose. Emotional control is the foundation of personal power. Master your reactions, and you master your relationships. Number 4, build and control your image. People don't judge you by your intentions. They judge you by what they can observe. This is one of Robert Greene's most important insights. As he states directly, people judge you by appearances, the image you project through your actions, words, and style. If you do not take control of this process, then people will see and define you the way they want to, often to your detriment. Your reputation, your image, the way people perceive you, this matters more than your inner goodness or your private thoughts. Most men leave their image to chance. They hope that if they're good people, others will naturally see their value. But that's not how human psychology works. People form opinions about you within seconds of meeting you. They judge you based on how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react to situations. Once that opinion is formed, it's very hard to change. If your image is that of someone who can be pushed around, who always accommodates others, who never stands up for himself, that's how people will treat you, regardless of your actual capabilities or character. The solution is to build your image deliberately. Think about how you want to be perceived. Then make sure your actions align with that image. Want to be seen as someone who commands respect? Then stop explaining yourself excessively. Stop apologizing for things that don't require apologies. Start carrying yourself with confidence. Want to be seen as valuable? Then stop being available for every request. Start being selective about where you invest your time and energy. Want to be seen as strong? Then stop avoiding conflict when your boundaries are crossed. Start addressing disrespect directly and calmly. Your image is built through countless small interactions. How you handle interruptions in conversations, whether you speak with authority or constantly seek approval, how you dress, how you stand, how you look people in the eye when you talk to them. People are always watching and judging, even when you don't realize it. They notice whether you laugh at jokes at your own expense, whether you back down when challenged, whether you keep your commitments or make excuses. Every interaction is either building the image you want or reinforcing an image you don't want. There's no neutral. You're always moving in one direction or another. The most important thing to understand is that perception often becomes reality in relationships and social situations. If people perceive you as weak, they'll treat you as weak, which will make you feel weak, which will make you act weak. The cycle continues. But if you deliberately build an image of strength, competence, and self-respect, people will treat you accordingly, which reinforces those qualities in yourself. Don't leave your reputation to chance. Don't assume people will see your true value if you just keep being nice and hoping for the best. Take control of how you're perceived by being intentional about the signal you send. As Greene writes in Law 25, do not accept the roles that society foists on you. Recreate yourself by forging a new identity, one that commands attention and never bores the audience. Be the master of your own image rather than letting others define it for you. He adds, you might think that being consistent with this image will make others respect and trust you, but in fact it is the opposite. Over time you seem predictable and weak. Consistency is an illusion anyway, each passing day brings changes within you. The powerful learn early in life that they have the freedom to mold their image, fitting the needs and moods of the moment. In this way, they keep others off balance and maintain an air of mystery. Remember, if you don't build your image, others will build it for you based on their observations of your behavior. And they might not build the image you want. Your image is your reality in social interactions. Build it deliberately, or others will build it for you. Number 5, use silence as a weapon. In a world where everyone feels the need to constantly talk, explain, and justify themselves, silence becomes a form of power. Most men, especially those used to being nice guys, have a compulsion to fill every silence. They feel like they need to explain their decisions, defend their choices, and make sure everyone understands their perspective. This actually makes you appear weak and uncertain. When you over-explain, you're essentially asking for permission to have boundaries. When you fill every pause with words, you show that you're uncomfortable with any tension or ambiguity. Robert Greene's Law 4 is unequivocal, always say less than necessary. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. Strategic silence works in several powerful ways. 1. It makes you appear more thoughtful and deliberate. When someone asks you a question and you pause before answering, it shows that you take decisions seriously rather than just reacting automatically. 2. Silence often makes others reveal more than they intended. People are uncomfortable with silence, so they'll often keep talking to fill the void, sometimes sharing information they didn't mean to share. 3. Silence can be a devastating response to disrespect. When someone says something inappropriate or tries to manipulate you, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply look at them and say nothing. Let them sit with the awkwardness of their behavior. When someone makes an unreasonable request, instead of immediately explaining why you can't do it, just say, "I'll think about it." And then stay silent. The burden is now on them to justify why their request is reasonable. When someone tries to pressure you into a quick decision, silence is your friend. "Let me consider this," followed by actual silence, gives you time to think and shows that you don't make impulsive choices. When someone criticizes you unfairly, resist the urge to defend yourself immediately. Sometimes silence forces them to reconsider their position or exposes the weakness in their argument. Silence also creates mystery, and people are naturally drawn to what they can't fully understand or predict. When you're not constantly sharing your thoughts, opinions, and reactions, people become more interested in what you're thinking. This doesn't mean being antisocial or refusing to communicate. It means being strategic about when you speak and when you don't. It means letting your words carry more weight because you use them selectively. Practice being comfortable with pauses in conversation. Don't feel like you need to respond immediately to every statement or question. Take time to think. Let others wonder what's going through your mind. When you do speak, people will listen more carefully, because they know you don't waste words. Your opinions will carry more weight because you don't share them casually. Silence creates power, mystery, and respect. Use it strategically to make your words more valuable when you do speak. Number 6. Be useful, but never harmless. There's a crucial difference between being useful and being harmless. And understanding this difference separates men who are respected from men who are used. Useful people solve problems, contribute value, and make things better. Harmless people avoid conflict, never challenge anything, and go along with whatever keeps the peace. People respect useful individuals because they make life better. But they take advantage of harmless individuals because they know there will never be any consequences for bad behavior. Robert Greene writes, "Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter." This means that when you establish yourself as a source of power and direction, people follow. But when you're just one of the flock, harmless and undifferentiated, you're vulnerable. Being useful means bringing skills, knowledge, and resources that people value. It means being someone others seek out because of what you can contribute, not just because you'll say yes to anything. Being harmless means never causing problems for anyone, even when problems need to be caused. It means staying quiet when you should speak up, avoiding conflict when conflict is necessary, letting people walk over you rather than standing your ground. The harmless person thinks they're being good by never making waves. But what they're actually doing is enabling bad behavior and making life worse for everyone, including themselves. When you see someone being treated unfairly and you say nothing because you don't want to get involved, that's being harmless, not good. When someone consistently takes advantage of your kindness, and you never address it because you want to avoid conflict, that's being harmless, not kind. When you watch someone make decisions that will hurt people and you stay silent because you don't want to be seen as negative, that's being harmless, not supportive. People don't respect harmless individuals because they can't count on them when things get difficult. They know that when a situation requires someone to take a stand, the harmless person will find an excuse to disappear. But useful people? They step up. They address problems. They're willing to be uncomfortable when it serves a greater purpose. This doesn't mean looking for fights or being unnecessarily aggressive. It means being willing to be the bad guy when someone needs to be the bad guy. Sometimes being useful means having difficult conversations, sometimes it means setting boundaries that disappoint people, sometimes it means choosing sides instead of trying to please everyone. People trust useful individuals with important responsibilities because they know these people will handle whatever comes up, even if it's unpleasant. They don't trust harmless people with anything significant because they can't rely on them to deal with challenges. Be someone people can count on to do what needs to be done, even when it's not easy or comfortable. Useful people are valued and respected. Harmless people are ignored and exploited. Choose to be useful. Number 7, stay unpredictable. Predictable people get used. Unpredictable people get respected. When people can predict exactly how you'll respond to any situation, they can manipulate those responses to get what they want from you. They know that pressure will make you give in, they know that guilt will make you comply, they know that flattery will make you do favors. This predictability makes you a tool in other people's hands, instead of a person worthy of respect. Robert Greene's Law 17 is clear: keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. He explains, you must not be afraid to express these evolutions. The powerful learn early in life that they have the freedom to mold their image, fitting the needs and moods of the moment. In this way, they keep others off balance and maintain an air of mystery. The key isn't to be erratic or unreliable. It's to be thoughtfully unpredictable, making decisions based on what each situation actually requires rather than falling into automatic patterns. When someone makes a request, sometimes you say yes immediately, sometimes you need time to think about it, sometimes you decline politely. They can't predict which response they'll get, so they have to actually make their case instead of just assuming you'll comply. When someone tries to pressure you, sometimes you stand firm immediately, sometimes you walk away without explanation, sometimes you turn the pressure back on them by asking why they're in such a hurry for your decision. When someone acts disappointed in you, sometimes you address their concerns if they're valid, sometimes you ignore the manipulation attempt entirely, sometimes you point out that their disappointment is not your responsibility. This unpredictability serves several important purposes. 1. It keeps people from taking your responses for granted. They can't just assume you'll automatically agree or automatically refuse. They have to treat each interaction as unique. 2. It forces people to actually consider your position instead of just trying to push your buttons. When they can't predict how you'll react, they have to engage with you as an individual rather than as a predictable response machine. 3. It makes your positive responses more meaningful. When people know you might say no, your yes carries real weight. When they know you could walk away, your presence becomes valuable. 4. It protects you from falling into patterns that don't serve your interests. Maybe you used to always say yes to extra work, but now sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't, depending on your actual priorities and workload. The key is basing your responses on what actually makes sense in each situation, rather than on what people expect from you or what will avoid the most conflict. This requires developing confidence in your own judgment. Instead of automatically trying to please everyone or automatically being difficult with everyone, you pause and ask, what's the right response here? What serves my interests while being fair to the situation? People respect this kind of thoughtful decision-making because it shows you're operating from your own principles rather than just reacting to social pressure. Predictability is weakness. When people can't predict your responses, they can't control your behavior. Number 8, understand human nature. To navigate the social world effectively, you must understand how people actually operate, not how you wish they would operate. Robert Greene's work is built on this foundation. As one reviewer notes, Greene says clarity is key to waging war. Your main obstacle is yourself, namely your own mind. How you interpret the world around you determines how you see yourself. Most men operate under illusions about human nature. They believe that if they're good to people, people will be good to them. They believe that kindness is always reciprocated. They believe that their intentions matter more than their actions. These illusions get them used. The reality is more complex. People are driven by self-interest, even when they don't admit it. They're influenced by emotions they don't understand. They're shaped by insecurities they can't control. As Greene explains in The Laws of Human Nature, understanding these forces is essential for navigating relationships effectively. When you see people clearly, with all their motivations, weaknesses, and hidden agendas, you can interact with them strategically rather than naively. This doesn't mean becoming cynical or distrusting everyone. It means being realistic about human behavior so you can protect yourself while still building genuine connections. When you understand that people often project their own insecurities onto others, you stop taking criticism so personally. When you understand that people are drawn to those who make them feel good about themselves, you become more strategic about how you present yourself. When you understand that people respect strength more than kindness, you stop trying to earn respect through accommodation. Greene also warns about the danger of certainty. What makes people stupid is their certainty that they have all the answers. People who are certain of things are very stupid, and when they have power, they're very, very dangerous. Better to cultivate what John Keats called negative capability, the power to hold two thoughts in your head at the same time, two thoughts that apparently contradict each other. This flexibility of mind allows you to adapt, to learn, and to see situations more clearly than those locked into rigid thinking. Understanding human nature gives you a massive advantage. You see the game that others don't even know they're playing. You anticipate moves before they happen. You respond to the reality of situations rather than your hopes about them. This is the foundation of all strategic thinking. Without it, you're navigating blind. Number 9, transform dark energy into power. Here's something most self-help gurus won't tell you: your darkest emotions can be your greatest source of power. Anger, frustration, resentment, these aren't weaknesses to be eliminated. They're fuel to be channeled. Robert Greene speaks directly to this. That dark energy, that anger, was the source of his power. It's kind of like Star Wars, how you use that dark energy and transform it into something positive. He wasn't driven to write his first book by love and positivity, but by a burning need to prove everyone wrong. And he's not alone. Kobe Bryant openly confessed that his legendary competitiveness came from wanting to crush opponents on the court, channeling what he called his dark energy into becoming one of basketball's greatest players. This isn't about becoming a toxic person or letting anger consume you. It's about the delicate art of transformation, how champions harness their drive and competitive fire, then channel that same intensity into something meaningful. The key isn't eliminating these powerful emotions, but learning to direct them towards something meaningful. If you've ever felt guilty about being driven by anger or frustration, this insight will completely shift how you see your own motivation. That feeling when someone disrespected you and you wanted to prove them wrong? Use it. That burning sensation when you were passed over, ignored, or taken for granted? Channel it. That deep frustration with your current circumstances? Transform it into action. The most successful people in history weren't driven by peace and contentment. They were driven by discontent, by the refusal to accept things as they were, by the burning desire to change their circumstances. Don't suppress your dark energy. Don't feel guilty about it. Learn to harness it. Use it as fuel for your discipline, use it as motivation when you want to quit, use it as fire when you need to push through obstacles. As Greene writes, the time that leads to mastery is dependent on the intensity of our focus. Dark energy, properly channeled, creates that intensity. This is the alchemy of power, transforming the lead of your frustrations into the gold of achievement. Number 10, plan all the way to the end. Most men live reactively. They respond to whatever happens next, making decisions based on immediate circumstances without considering where those decisions lead. This is a recipe for being used. Robert Greene's Law 29 is essential: plan all the way to the end. He explains, the ending is everything. Plan all the way to it, taking into account all the possible consequences, obstacles, and twists of fortune. Strategic thinking means looking beyond the present moment. It means considering not just what you want now, but what will serve you in the long run. When someone asks for a favor, the nice guy thinks only about whether he can help. The strategic thinker considers, will this favor create an expectation? Will it be reciprocated? Does this person respect boundaries? What will this cost me in the long run? When you're considering a new opportunity, don't just think about the immediate benefits. Think about where it leads. What doors does it open? What doors does it close? Who will you be associating with? What will this look like a year from now? As Greene notes in the 33 Strategies of War, grand strategy is the art of looking beyond the present battle and calculating ahead. Focus on your ultimate goal and plot to reach it. He also advises to buy time when needed, because it is your biggest resource. Planning all the way to the end means considering second and third order consequences, thinking about how others will react to your decisions, having contingency plans for when things go wrong, knowing when to cut losses and when to push through, and understanding that short-term discomfort often leads to long-term gain. This kind of thinking separates leaders from followers. Followers react to circumstances. Leaders shape circumstances by thinking ahead. When you plan all the way to the end, you're no longer at the mercy of events. You're directing them. Here's what most men will never understand. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards power. It rewards strength. It rewards those who understand that respect is earned through boundaries, not through endless accommodation. You don't have to choose between being good and being respected. But you do have to understand that being good without strength, without standards, without the willingness to be strategic when necessary, that isn't goodness. That's just weakness disguised as virtue. Real strength comes from strategic thinking. Real respect comes from having boundaries. Real power comes from controlling your emotions, your image, and your responses, rather than letting others control them for you. The strategies I've shared today aren't about becoming cruel or heartless. They're about becoming someone who commands respect rather than someone who begs for it. As Robert Greene writes, if you have the kind of intelligence and instinct that will point you in the right direction, playing the rebel will not be dangerous. Learn from those who understand power. Apply these principles. Transform yourself. People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you. If you teach them that you have no standards, no boundaries, no consequences for bad behavior, they'll treat you accordingly. But when you show that you value yourself, that you have limits, that you're willing to walk away from people who don't respect you, everything changes. Start applying these principles today. Stop being everyone's nice guy. Start being someone who earns genuine respect through strength and strategy. The right people will value you more, not less. The relationships that survive will be based on mutual respect rather than one-sided accommodation. If this opened your eyes, subscribe for more truth about power, respect, and what it really takes to succeed as a man in today's world. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I refuse to be weak. I choose power and control. Remember, men who stay weak will always be ruled. Men who choose power will never be forgotten.